Elijah Crawford's hands moved across the cockpit controls with a precision that most pilots could only dream of. At 32, he had logged more successful emergency landings than anyone else at Apex Aviation, the most prestigious private airline in the country. Yet, as he walked through the gleaming hallways of Apex headquarters, shoulders back and uniform crisp, he felt the familiar weight of unspoken judgment. Eyes followed him, some curious, others suspicious. "Morning, Crawford," called Captain Reynolds, not bothering to use his rank. "Never, Captain Crawford," though he'd earned the title 3 years ago. Elijah nodded politely. "Good morning, Captain Reynolds." At the briefing room door, he paused as he heard laughter inside. But they needed diversity hires, you know how it is," someone was saying. The voice belonged to Dominic Reinhardt, the CEO's nephew and the company's golden boy. Despite his mediocre flight record, the laughter died when Elijah pushed open the door. 6 faces turned to him, smiles fading like clouds before a storm. "Flight 337, you are cleared for takeoff." "Good skies, Captain Crawford." Elijah acknowledged the tower and guided the Boeing 787 Dreamliner down the runway with expert hands. Beside him, First Officer Lisa Tanaka monitored the systems as they ascended into the crisp morning air. "Perfect rotation, as always," she remarked. 40 minutes into the flight, air traffic control's urgent voice crackled through the headset. "Apex 337, immediate right turn to heading 090. Traffic alert." Elijah responded instantly, banking the aircraft while scanning the sky. Through the clouds, he spotted it, another Apex jet on a collision course. The aircraft identifier was clearly visible, AX-290, Dominic Reinhardt's flight. "He's off course," Lisa gasped as they narrowly avoided disaster, passing within 800 feet of the other plane. 3 hours later, back at headquarters, Elijah stood before the safety committee, stunned by the accusation. "Captain Crawford, flight recordings show you deviated from your assigned altitude," said Operations Director Walter Gentry, not meeting his eyes. "That's impossible," Elijah protested. "Check the transponder data, we have," Gentry cut him off, sliding forward a report. Signed by Captain Reinhardt. "He states your aircraft was improperly positioned." Reinhardt's flight was the one off course. "His transponder, his data shows otherwise," Gentry interrupted coldly. "Consider yourself grounded pending investigation. Surrender your credentials to security." As Elijah handed over his ID badge, he noticed Dominic in the hallway, smirking as he chatted with the CEO. The suspension letter lay open on Elijah's kitchen counter, its official language masking the injustice behind it. "Administrative leave pending thorough investigation, corporate speak for guilty until proven innocent." He paced his apartment, phone pressed to his ear. "They've appointed Gentry to head the investigation," Elijah told his lawyer. "The same man who's blocked my promotion twice." "Any other names on the committee?" asked Marissa, his attorney. "Thomas Wells and Patricia Donovan." He sighed deeply. "Wells plays golf with Reinhardt's father every Sunday. Donovan once complained that diversity initiatives lowered standards." His phone buzzed with a text from Lisa, "They're interviewing everyone from Flight 337 except me. When I asked why, they said my perspective wasn't relevant. Fighting for you." Elijah stared out the window at the distant airport, watching planes take off without him. 15 years of flawless flying reduced to suspicion and whispers in just 48 hours, the security badge Lisa had slipped him granted access only to the lower archives, but it was enough. At 2 a.m., Elijah moved silently through the dimly lit basement of Apex headquarters, where flight records were stored before being digitized and transferred to the main system. "Box AX-290, February 12th, he muttered, scanning the shelves. Finding it, he pulled out the physical backup of Reinhardt's flight data. His phone pinged, a text from Lisa, "Hurry. Security sweep in 15 minutes." Elijah photographed each page rapidly, noticing immediately the discrepancies between the printed logs and the digital version Gentry had presented. The original showed Reinhardt descending 1,200 feet below his assigned altitude, directly into Elijah's flight path. As he replaced the file, a handwritten note slipped out. D. Fixed the altitude readings as discussed. Nobody checks the physical backups anymore. W. Walter Wells. Elijah's fingers trembled as he photographed the note. A noise from the corridor froze him in place. Flashlight beams swept under the door. He ducked behind a large filing cabinet as two security guards entered. "Thought I heard something," one said, scanning the room. "Probably just the ventilation system again," replied the other. "Let's finish the sweep." Elijah held his breath until they left, then slipped out with the evidence that could save his career, if they'd let him present it. Elijah waited anxiously in the corner booth of the airport cafe, away from windows where Apex employees might spot him. The door chimed, and a young woman with intelligent eyes beneath sleek black-framed glasses walked in, scanning the room before spotting him. "Captain Crawford?" "I'm Amara Chen," she said, sliding into the seat opposite him. "Lisa said you needed help with flight data analysis." "Thank you for coming," Elijah said cautiously. "This could cost you your job." Amara opened her laptop. "I've been at Apex 6 weeks. In that time, I've seen 3 incident reports where minority pilots were blamed despite evidence suggesting otherwise. When I tried to flag the inconsistencies, my supervisor told me to focus on my assigned tasks." She turned the screen toward him, showing a complex data visualization. "Look here, the transponder data from both flights. I've written an algorithm that detects manual overrides in the system. Someone altered Reinhardt's altitude readings after landing, but they missed the radar cross-reference data." Elijah leaned forward, hope flickering to life. "That's exactly what I found in the physical records." Amara nodded grimly. "We have 48 hours before the committee makes their final decision. Let's build an airtight case. You're trespassing on company property, Crawford." Security Chief Malone blocked the conference room doorway, hand resting on his taser. "Leave now before I call the police." "The safety committee needs to see this evidence," Elijah insisted, holding up the flash drive. Behind him, Amara clutched her laptop, her face determined despite her trembling hands. "Let them in, Malone," came a voice from inside. CEO Victor Harrington appeared in the doorway, silver-haired and imposing. "I want to hear what they have to say." The committee members' faces ranged from irritated to alarmed as Elijah and Amara entered. Dominic Reinhardt sat at the far end, whispering frantically to Walter Wells. "5 minutes, Crawford," Harrington said, checking his watch. "Then we proceed with our decision." Amara connected her laptop to the projector. The screen lit up with flight path visualizations, transponder data, and the damning handwritten note, now enhanced and analyzed by a handwriting expert. "As you can see," Amara explained, "the original data shows Captain Reinhardt's aircraft descending without clearance. These subsequent entries were altered after landing." Gentry stood abruptly. "This is preposterous. Where did you get these files?" "From your own archives," Elijah replied calmly. "He's lying," Dominic shouted, face reddening. "He fabricated this to save himself." "Actually," came a new voice from the doorway. Lisa Tanaka entered, followed by 3 other pilots of color. "We have more evidence of systematic data manipulation. And we're prepared to take it to the FAA and the media if necessary." The room fell silent as Lisa connected a second drive to the projector. "For incidents in the past year," she said, advancing through slides. Captain James Okafor, blamed for a fuel miscalculation that maintenance records show was a gauge malfunction. Lieutenant Rosa Mendez, cited for an improper approach that tower recordings clearly authorized. Captain Amir Patel, suspended for a weather diversion that meteorological data fully justified. Amara stepped forward. Each case followed the same pattern: altered data, intimidation of witnesses, and investigation committees staffed with the same rotating members. One of the pilots behind Lisa pulled out a folder. "We've collected testimonies from 15 current and former employees documenting a culture of discrimination that goes beyond flight operations into hiring, promotion, and training opportunities." CEO Harrington's face darkened as he flipped through the documents. "Why wasn't I informed of these patterns?" "Because, sir," Elijah said quietly, "the system was designed to ensure you never saw the complete picture." Dominic pushed back his chair violently. "This is a coordinated attack on the company's reputation. They're playing the race card to cover their incompetence." "The data speaks for itself," Amara replied firmly. "Numbers don't have racial bias. People do." The emergency alarm blared through headquarters as Harrington ended a tense call. "Flight AX-422 has declared an emergency. Both pilots incapacitated, suspected food poisoning. The aircraft is on autopilot, but they need someone to land it remotely from our simulator." "I can do it," Dominic volunteered immediately. "I've done simulator-to-aircraft interfaces before." "The 422 is a 787-9 with the new flight system," Amara interjected. "Dominic isn't certified on it." All eyes turned to Elijah. "You want me to land it?" Elijah asked incredulously. "I'm suspended, remember?" 168 passengers, Crawford, Harrington said grimly. "Can you do it or not?" Minutes later, Elijah sat in the simulator cockpit, hands steady on the controls as technicians established the remote connection. Amara, now his impromptu co-pilot, monitored the systems. "Connection established," she reported. "You have control." The aircraft was in trouble: unstable descent, low fuel, approaching a thunderstorm. "This is Captain Elijah Crawford taking remote command of AX-422, he announced to the frightened passengers. "We're going to get you home safely." Dominic burst into the simulator room. "This is insane. You're letting a suspended pilot either help or get out," Harrington snapped. For 2 harrowing hours, Elijah fought turbulence and systems limitations, guiding the troubled aircraft through impossible conditions while headquarters held its collective breath. "Final approach," Elijah announced, sweat beading on his forehead as the runway lights came into view. "Brace for landing." The newspaper headline said it all: "Hero pilot reinstated after exposing discrimination ring at Apex Aviation." Elijah stood before Apex's newly formed Ethics and Equality Committee, watching as Dominic and his conspirators were escorted from the building, their security badges confiscated. "Captain Crawford," CEO Harrington addressed him formally, "on behalf of the company, I apologize for the injustice you faced. Your position is restored, with back pay and compensation." Elijah nodded. "And the other pilots who were unfairly disciplined?" "All cases under review," Amara confirmed, now heading the new committee alongside Lisa. Later, as Elijah walked through headquarters toward his first flight back, junior pilots of all backgrounds stopped to shake his hand. "Ready, Captain?" asked his new co-pilot, Thomas Wells Jr., whose father's resignation had opened a path for his long-delayed promotion. "More than ready," Elijah replied, stepping confidently into the sunshine streaming through the windows. "Clear skies ahead."